Ekakale kota kela gora nataraj. Pashane kutibo mata Hanale pashibo Pashane kutibo mata Hanale pashibo Goranga gunera nidhi kota gile pabo Goranga gunera nidhi kota gile pabo Se sava sangira sange che koilo bilas Se sanga sangira sabe je koilo bilas sangira sange Se sanga na paya kande narotamadas Se sangana paya kande narotamadas Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtotar Sutta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtotar Sutta Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadi Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution in Daivi Varnashram Farm Communities Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Srila Vamsidasa Babaji Maharaj and Sri Raghunanda Thakur Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Do I say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, so today is the disappearance day of Srila Vamsidasa Babaji Maharaj and Srila Raghunanda Thakur. So we'll start with Raghunanda Thakur, speaking about their lives a little bit. Okay, so, all right. So Srila Raghunanda Thakur appears in the, Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshru Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Pishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaf Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubi Eva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivikasa Swaminiti Namane Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Srila Raghunanda Thakur, an associate of Lord Chaitanya, was appeared in, a family of physicians in the year 1432, Saka year, 1510 AD. And so, here we say here, actually his Swarup, his identity really is the third member of the Chaturvyuha Pradyumna. And it says here that he took part in Radha Madhava's Leela and Krishna, and Vraja as Krishna's intimate friend, or Priya Narma Sakha. He has now appeared as Raghunandan, whose body is not different from that of Sri Chaitanya. And so, like I said, he appeared in the year 1510 AD. His father's name was Mukunda Das, and his mother's name is unknown. So Mukunda Das was Narhari Sarkar Thakur's older brother. And in the 15th chapter of the Madhya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that Mukunda Das was the physician to the king. This is a quote from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Superficially, he appears to be engaged in government service as physician to the king, but in his inner life he is filled with divine love. Who can know the extent of his love? And then there's an anecdote of one time when Mukunda Das was treating the king. He saw a peacock feather and he fainted. So it shows just how absorbed in Krishna consciousness he was. And then it says, like Narahari, they made their home in Srikhand. Mukunda Das's home is about 1 mile from the Srikhand station. And so Raghunandan Thakur was his son. He took birth on the Vasant Panchami day. And his uncle Narahari took a great deal of interest in raising Raghunandan. And there's this story that is pretty well known. I think everyone here knows this story, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually was speaking with Mukunda Das and asking him, who is Raghunandan your son, or are you his son? Essentially, as he was asking them that. And so here this is kind of explained. Mahaprabhu asked Mukunda Das, are you Raghunandan's father and he your son, or is he your father and you his son? Tell me so that I can put my doubts to rest. Mukunda answered, Raghunandan is my father and I am his son, rest assured. Whatever devotion we have comes from him. Therefore I see him as my father. When he heard Mukunda Das's answer, Mahaprabhu was thrilled and said, he from whom we imbibe devotion should always be considered our senior. So it's quite interesting, sometimes, we come into devotional service and maybe we get instruction from someone much younger than us physically, their body's younger, but still they should be considered our senior because they've given us the gift of Krishna consciousness. So then here, Mahaprabhu gave Raghunandan the service of deity worship, and there's this very famous story. Again, we've all heard this story, but I'll just narrate it, just so that we can appreciate it and relish it. So from his early childhood, Raghunandan Thakur would feed the family's Gopinath deity ladus. Uddhava Das has written a song in which this Leela is described. So Mukunda Das lived in the village of Srikhand, where his household deity was named Gopinath. One day he had to go somewhere for work, and he asked Raghunandan to do the service. He said, in this house we worship Krishna, so I want you to be sure to give him something to eat. And then he left. Raghunandan did as his father had ordered and made the offering to the deity. Raghunandan was just a child, and in his simplicity he said to Gopinath, eat, eat. Krishna is controlled by love, and so he did as the child told him and ate everything on the plate without leaving even a grain of rice. When Mukunda Das returned, he asked the boy to bring him the prasad from the offering he had made. The child answered, Father, Krishna ate everything and left no remnants. Mukunda was so astonished at his child's wondrous words that he asked him to make another offering. This time, after he left the house, he returned and hid to watch what his son did. Raghunandan joyfully placed a ladu in Krishna's hand and said in a commanding voice, Eat, eat. When Krishna had eaten half of the ladu, Raghunandan saw Mukunda Das in the doorway. Mukunda saw that Krishna did not take another bite and that the half-eaten ladu remained in his hand. This caused him to be filled with love. He embraced his child and, as tears of joy rained from his eyes, spoke to him in a broken voice. To this day, fortunate people come to Srikhand to see the half-eaten ladu in Gopinath's hand. Raghunanda is not different from Cupid himself, says Uddhava Das with great feeling. So it's pretty nice. To this day, they still have a half-eaten laddu in that deity's hand, so everyone can go see it. And it's really a beautiful story. I mean, I've heard a few variations of that, I guess, where maybe a little bit more detail, where I've heard it said that when he first presented the offering and it Gopinath? Yeah, Gopinath wasn't eating it. He became kind of agitated or anxious and started crying even and saying, no, like, you must eat it. My father has ordered me that you must eat this. And, out of feeling, of course, Gopinath obliged and actually physically ate the offering. It's just really, really wonderful story. All the Mahatmas felt fascinated to see the Gopinath deity whom Raghunanda had fed ladus. And then there's a few more pastimes from his life. Let's see here. This is quite an interesting one. These are, both of the pastimes from his life and from Vamsidasa Babaji's life are so inconceivable to us. As those just starting on the path of devotion, that just the kind of things that happen with pure devotees and the pastimes that they enact and the things that happen. It seemed like like mystical and magical and quite far out, and can be hard for us to relate to. But it's important to hear these things to see what is the perfection of life, what is the activities of a pure devotee, and they can be very indiscernible and confusing even for the conditioned soul. But so this one is quite interesting. One day, Abhiram Thakur came to Srikant and paid his obeisances to Raghunandan. Then he embraced him and melted with feelings of prem. Raghunandan started to dance and sing kirtan, and while doing so, one of his ankle bells slipped from his foot and went flying off, landing 4 miles away in a kai hut near his disciple Krishna Das's house. Later, in order to commemorate the event, an artificial pond was excavated in that village and given the name Nupur Kund. It's pretty interesting. It flew 4 miles, his ankle bells, when he was dancing in ecstasy. Let's see, there's a few more here. This is quite interesting. So this is a conversation, an exchange between Raghunanda Thakur and Srinivasa Acharya. So let's see. Srila Raghunanda Thakur had great affection for Srinivasa Acharya. Prior to his disappearance, he consoled Srinivas that despite the difficult times, he would be able to spread Vaishnavism in the future. A difficult time is coming in which people will succumb to various doubts. Narahari Prabhu wrote in his Sri Krishna Bhajanamrita. And then let's see. So it's Krishna Chaitanya Chandrena Nityanandena Samhrite Avatare Kala Vasmin Vaishnava Sarva Evahi Bhavishyanti Sadodvignaha Kale Dine Parayasandigda Hridaya Utametara Madhyamaha. Once our Lord Krishna Chaitanya and his companion Nityananda Prabhu have ended their incarnation, the Vaishnavas in this age of Kali will become more anxious with every passing day. Whether very advanced, somewhat advanced, or neophyte, their hearts will nearly always be filled with doubt. But don't let this worry you. Lord Gauranga will accomplish many great works through you. I bless you that you remain long on this earth and that you and your followers protect our Lord's religion. Those who are opposed to devotion to Krishna will become devotees by your influence, and they will take shelter of you. So it's quite interesting that saying that there's a prediction that with every passing day, Vaishnavas will become more anxious, and even if they're very, very advanced, it says their hearts will nearly always be filled with doubt. So it's quite interesting to hear that and understand that. Keep that in mind, that we are living in the age of Kali, and these kind of nefarious forces can act upon us. Even within devotional service, we can be afflicted with this doubt, which is very dangerous to devotional service. And strengthened, this is weakened by association with devotees. So now I'll move on to speaking on Srila Vamsidasa Babaji Maharaj. So this book is written by Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. And there isn't so much known. Well, this is probably the most that's actually known about Maharaj. He was a very, very advanced Paramahamsa sadhu and Babaji, of course, and with such personalities, generally not so much is known about their life because they live a secluded lifestyle. They aren't so much involved in worldly affairs, and generally they either stay in one place or sometimes they wander around, and we'll see that Vamsidasa Babaji Maharaj did both. He spent a lot of time in Navadvip, and then he spent some time on pilgrimage, just kind of wandering around. But one important thing to understand is that, like I said before, the kind of activities and pastimes of such personalities is so far beyond our understanding and our level of like devotional service. So it can be kind of confusing, some things he does. Actually, it's said here in the introduction, let's see, that basically they don't have to follow any of the regulative principles or any of the rules that we have to follow. And there's a really nice analogy given here. Let me see if I can find exactly what he says. So 3 Babajis of Navadvip, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, Srila Gaura Das Babaji, and Srila Vamsidasa Babaji, were deeply absorbed on the level of pure Krishna Bhakti described in Vaishnav literature, foremost of which is Srimad Bhagavatam. These perfect devotees of the Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya demonstrated the importance of worshipping Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most merciful incarnation of Krishna. Krishna is Madhurya Vigraha, the embodiment of sweetness, but that sweetness is not readily accessible to the conditioned souls. However, when Shyamasundar Krishna appeared as Gaurasundar, Lord Chaitanya, he came as Audarya Vigraha, the embodiment of munificence. This time he appeared especially to benefit the unfortunate, distressed people of Kali Yuga. Although Krishna is unapproachable to offenders, in his form of Lord Chaitanya he is not so strict. If anyone utters the name of Gauranga with a little faith, or even no faith, Lord Chaitanya immediately overlooks all of that person's offenses and makes him eligible to receive Krishna Prem. It is this all-merciful Lord Chaitanya, along with his brother Lord Nityananda, whom our Gaudiya Vaishnavacharyas urge us to approach. And then it goes on to explain that these were, Jagannath Das Babaji, Gaura Das Babaji, and Vamsidasa Babaji were Bhajananandi sadhus. So there's Goshyanandi and Bhajananandi. Goshyanandis are preachers. They go out into the world and interact with the common people. Bhajananandis, they set an example of what does pure devotional service look like and what is complete detachment from the material world. What does that look like? And it goes on to explain in here, I'll get into it, but that Vamsidasa Babaji, he's a Nitya Siddha, and he just came to this world to display these pastimes. And so the question is raised, well, why does he have to do that? Why doesn't he just stay in the spiritual world? But then the answer is given that it's to show this example for the conditioned souls, that they can see how a pure devotee acts, what is the behavior of a pure devotee, and get his association. It's explained that there's many different devotees that would travel with Babaji Maharaj around, get his association, take his remnants sometimes. There's a really nice story that he never let anybody touch his lotus feet, ever, except for one time when it was the day after Gaur Purnima on the, I can't remember the exact name of it, but yeah, the day after Gaur, after Janmashtami, there's like the celebration of Nanda Maharaj, had the birth ceremony. Similarly, after Gaur Purnima, it's the same thing. And he was feeling so just ecstatic and happy about it. And he was also, I think, I'm speculating here a little bit, but it seems like because he's in Vatsalya Ras, so parental affection, and so he was feeling that parental affection for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, as a baby, and he was feeling so ecstatic that he just allowed everyone to come take the dust of his lotus feet, and just so many people came and got his mercy on that day. So it's really quite interesting. But there's this part here, I can't find exactly what I was wanting to say. Okay, here it is, yeah. Okay. So it's 2 quotes from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, yeah, this elevated level of devotional service is not to be imitated. This is an important point. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami warns, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pantaratra Vidim Vina Aikantiki Harir Bhaktir Utpatayaiva Kalpate. The purport of this verse is that the scriptural regulations of devotional service are essential, and neglect of them by a practitioner of Hari Bhakti will simply cause disturbance. Yet in the same book, Srila Rupa Goswami instructed, Smartavya Satatam Vishnur, Vismartavyo na jahatu chit, Sarve Vidhi Nishedha Syur, Etayor Eva Kinkaraha. Always remember Krishna, Vishnu, and never forget him. All rules and regulations are subservient to this injunction. So then the point I wanted to make here that is kind of concluded, for a reluctant student, a disciplined atmosphere is necessary to see him through his course. But an eager student does not need inducement or pressure to open his books. Similarly, for those who have not developed spontaneous taste for devotional service, rules are required, but they serve no meaningful purpose for devotees who have already attained the elevated stage. Vamsidasa Babaji was a topmost Paramahamsa whose character and behavior were so unusual that only the most advanced devotees on that same level of perfection could clearly recognize his greatness. So I really like that analogy there of the student, a reluctant student. Everyone understands that, if going to school, if you're forced to go through it, right, you have to follow these rules and stuff, but someone that's eager to learn the thing, you don't have to force them to come at a certain time and turn in their homework, or they just naturally take to it and they just like doing it. Everybody's experienced that by learning something that they like to learn versus having to do something they don't want to do. So it's a very nice analogy there. And the important point, of course, is that we're not meant to imitate such devotees, but simply to appreciate and we can develop a sense of awe and reverence for them and hear of their pastimes, because simply hearing of the pastimes of these pure devotees is purifying for us. Let's see here. So now I just had a few marks of where I wanted to go through some of the pastimes of Vamsidasa Babaji Maharaj and explain some of the things here. So yes, just a little bit about his appearance. He appeared in 1859 in the village of Majidpur. This was in East Bengal. And he was born to a poor fisherman, so he's in fisherman caste, and he lived very austerely. I mean, it talks about that at that time in such a family, basically the family lived day to day, just whatever the father could go out and catch, then they would just have that for eating, and that's it. They just whatever they had that day, they were extremely poor. But in accord with Hindu custom, he took Diksha from his family's guru, who is Narottam Das Babaji of the Narottam Parivar, which is the line of gurus descending from disciples of Narottam Das Thakur. So this was someone in the line of Narottam Das Thakur that he took initiation from, his guru. Let's see here. And then, so even as a young boy, it was shown that he would have to go and do various duties with his family and such. But then, in his free time and in the evening and stuff, he would go to his guru's ashram and just hear Krishna Katha from him, and he just wanted to hear about Krishna. And he also became very attracted to the songs of Narottam Das Thakur, and this is something that was repeated throughout his life as a common theme, that he would always sing, even daily, he would sing different songs of Narottam Das Thakur, and it is even said that he would kind of like improvise or like add things or change certain things around to just kind of fit this situation. Like one I just read was that, I can't the exact details, but basically it was like talking about an animal, and the way that the Bengali was, it was talking about that animal in the song, saying that animal, but he changed it to this animal, referring to himself as an animal out of humility. So it's quite interesting things that happen there. And of course, back at this time, this is contemporary to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and as we know, the reputation of Vaishnavism was very low in the general masses, and so it's being explained here. The villages of Bengal were infested with misrepresentations of Vaishnavism. Some people took Vaishnavism as a license for debauchery, while others earned money through cheap presentations of Krishna Leela. But it's saying that Vamsidasa Babaji was never attracted to such pretenders, but he kept close to his guru's lotus feet and carefully heard from him. And so his parents saw that he was indifferent to the world and detached and interested in spiritual life, so they quickly got him married. But it didn't work. After 6 months of being married, or I think it's, not 6 months. He had a 6-month-old son. So shortly after his marriage, when he had a 6-month-old son, he just dipped out and left and became a renunciate. He immediately accepted Babaji ashram from Narottam Das Babaji, his guru, who renamed him Vamsidasa. And then later on, he was usually referred to simply as Babaji Maharaj. So, kind of common story, I guess you could say. There's also Raghunath Das Goswami that had a similar kind of thing where his parents were anxiously, trying to get him into being a worldly person. Happens to pretty much anyone that tries to become a renunciate, that their parents freak out and want them to be, worldly and materialistic. And but these great souls exhibited high levels of renunciation and detachment from the world, and he immediately just left everything. Let's see here. So, so this is a really nice anecdote of Vamsidasa Babaji meeting Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So it's said that they had very strong mutual respect for each other and recognized each other's position. So Jagadish Bhakti Pradeep reported having accompanied Siddhanta Saraswati to Koladweep for the darshan of Vamsidasa Babaji shortly before Gaur Purnima in 1914. Although when they arrived, Babaji Maharaj had not spoken to anyone for some time and was absorbed in singing to his deities from Prarthana, on seeing Siddhanta Saraswati, he loudly cried, "My Gaura's own associate has come." Then Babaji Maharaj respectfully seated Siddhanta Saraswati and resumed singing. After this visit, Siddhanta Saraswati explained at length that Babaji Maharaj was serving Krishna according to Narottam Das Thakur's mood, and that Babaji Maharaj's apparent improper behavior was meant to mislead materialistic people, including putative Vaishnavas, and hence was incomprehensible to such persons. It's very interesting. Again, we see this as well. I can't remember the name of this devotee, but the devotee that we were just speaking of him recently, that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he left fish scales outside of his kutir because people were coming and respecting him and wanting to get his association. Anyways, and so he did that, and he also hired like a low-class woman to sit out, and so people would think that he was associating with some woman. And we see that, again, the very elevated Vaishnavas, and again, this isn't something to imitate, but they often will purposefully try to become ridiculed or criticized or thought of as so strange and just not someone to be associated with by the common people, because they want to just have time to just be away from them and practice their bhajan. There's also a very interesting part here. I skipped it, but so when Vamsidasa Babaji Maharaj would see Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur sometimes, he would exclaim, "Oh, a Manjari has come, so won't Radha also come? She will come, she will come." So it's quite interesting. He referred to him as my Gaura's own associate, and he also referred to him as a Manjari. So quite ecstatic there. Again, very high topics. Let's see. Yeah, so this is another very important point, and again, something that shows how, at least for myself, reminds me how far I have to go. And there's many examples of this in this book, but this paragraph here, Babaji Maharaj converted and related everything to Krishna. For instance, if he were to hear someone mention the word government, he would likely exclaim, "Govardhan, Govardhana Dhari." Thus, remaining always immersed in Krishna consciousness, he embodied the principle of Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi, absorption in the mellows of devotional service to Krishna. Padyavali 14. So there's another story, another anecdote in there. What is this? He saw an elephant. I can't remember exactly where this was. I think it might have been Jagannath Puri. There's an elephant walking, and then one of the things they used to do is that people would come up and give like some coins to an elephant, and the elephant would grab the coins and give it to whoever was handling the elephant, riding the elephant on top with his trunk, and then the trunk he would use to bless the person that gave the coin, just touch them on the head, right? And so Vamsidasa Babaji saw this, and actually he began lamenting that, oh, this elephant is serving its master so nicely, and I'm not even able to serve my master Krishna not nicely at all, but this elephant's doing it so nicely. So he's just, everything he sees is in relation to Krishna. He saw a train passing over a bridge, and then he somehow reminded him of the Ras Mandala. Some, just kind of things like that. I mean, this whole book is filled with little examples like that are quite amazing. Let's see here. So his deities, this is a very, very important part of Vamsidasa Babaji Maharaj's life, is his entire life revolved around his deities, actually. And so particularly he had a little Gopal deity that he would carry around with him everywhere. And he also had Gornitai that were wood-carved deities, and I think it said that they were, 3 feet tall. No. 3 feet tall. So his Gornitai deities were 3 feet tall, and they were fashioned from neem wood. And then he had Radghunanda deities, which were 6 inches high and composed of something called Ashta Dhatu, which is a mix of different metals. And so his deity worship was very unconventional, you could say, different from, it wasn't according to, again, traditional regulative principles or anything like that. He would, like I said before, he was in Vatsalya Bhav, so he would treat the deities like his children and oftentimes chastise them, and constantly he was just having conversations with them, actually. It said that he wouldn't really talk much to anybody else except for his deities. He would all day be just in conversation with his deities. And of course, nobody could hear what the deities were saying back to him, but he would speak in such a way that indicated that he was actually, they were speaking to him and he was speaking back to them. And it's quite interesting because, again, there's a very playful attitude and very, very casual, you could say, relationship where he's literally acting as, their parent in that parental bhav, chastising them when they don't eat. Sometimes he would not let them eat for some reason, and punish them and things like that. And this also said that he would always leave, he would go leave and take a bath or something like that. Whenever he would leave his hut just unlocked and open, just like completely open. And people would sometimes come steal from that. But people would say, well, why don't you just lock the door when you leave? Just why don't you lock it? And he said, if I lock it, or what's the point of locking a house when the resident of the house is a thief himself? He's referring to his deities. Krishna is a thief himself, so why am I going to lock the door if the person inside there is also a thief? It's pretty amazing. So like I said, Babaji Maharaj worshiped his deities without observing standard regulations. There's little formal system or routine for their puja, nor a simhasana for them. Around midday, he would simply offer them flowers he had collected nearby. Daily, by whatever means, he would procure champaka flowers and string a single garland which he would place around the necks of his Gaur Nityananda deities. He would offer food to his deities merely by placing it before them without any mantras or anything like that. Sometimes he did not feed them. He never put them to rest or woke them up. He kept 2 cloth bags, and after performing puja in his own way, he would place Gornitai in one of them and Radha Govinda in the other, or possibly leave them out. He gave them no proper dress, only some rags that he would change only after long periods. In winter, he would cover his Radha-Krishna deities with a small cloth, but even that was torn and dirty. So then this is interesting, like I was saying. So Babaji Maharaj's principal method of worship was simply to live with his deities, see them, and talk with them in a most intimate and informal manner, sometimes laughing and sometimes quarreling with them. Occasionally indicating Gopal, he would angrily order his associates, "Put him out, get him out of here." A typical anecdote is that once while cooking, Babaji Maharaj told his deities, "Just wait, I'm still cooking." A little later he said, you get outside, go outside. So yeah, he would, like I said, his life was his deities. There's another interesting anecdote that one time he had I think it was an eggplant, it said, and if anybody understands, like, uncooked eggplant isn't something you can, like, really eat, but he actually offered that. He cut it and offered uncooked eggplant to his deities, and then he took those remnants and he ate it, and he was like, "This is amazing, it's so good." Apparently it's like, I've never had it, but it seems like it'd be very, very unpalatable. And Bhakti-Vikas Maharaj made a footnote about how that would be very, very unpalatable to eat. Let's see here. So, once he left his house, earlier after he left his wife and his newborn child and took Babaji, he went to Navadvip and spent quite a lot of time there. And so let's see here, a couple anecdotes from that. A regular visitor repeatedly asked Babaji Maharaj, "How can we attain God?" but never got a reply. Finally, one day, Babaji Maharaj suddenly looked intensely at him and asked, "What do you want?" When the man replied, "I want to find God," Babaji Maharaj told him, "Cry." Upon once being asked by a devotee why he did not wear bahirvas, an outer garment, he just simply, as you can see here, he only wore a loincloth ever. Babaji Maharaj replied, "I keep only the cause. I have no connection with Ba. My Gauranga forbade me from bahirvas and bahiranga." And so the footnote says here, the three kas are kopin, loincloth, karanga, water pot, and kanta, patchwork quilt. Considered emblems of renunciation, these three kas would typically be among the few possessions of Gaudiya Vaishnava renunciates who equated bahirvas with bahiranga sangha, association with the external energy. So they equated outer garments with association with material energy. So that just shows, again, his level of renunciation is just cannot be imitated, should not be imitated. Let's see here. There's an interesting story here. Okay, yeah. So there were some brothers that constructed a house for him at one point when he was a little bit older. And he was living in this house for some time. Then eventually he left it and abandoned it. But when he was living in the two-story house constructed for him by the Kundu brothers, Vamsidasa used only the ground floor, being too old to walk to the top level. That house was by the bank of the Ganga at the edge of the flood area, and once during the rainy season, Vamsidasa told Purna Kundu, "In the morning there will be a great flood, so move everything out of here." Purna moved the deities and all else into a house beyond the flood zone. The next morning, the Ganga inundated the vicinity, including the house they had just vacated. So actually this appears over and over again that Vamsidasa Babaji Maharaj, he was able to predict future events quite often, actually. There's another one where they were sleeping next to a train station, and he said, he told one of his associates there, "Do you want to see some thieves? You want to see some people steal some stuff tonight?" And then they went and looked, and later that day, that night, yeah, sure enough, there was people stealing from one of the train compartments. So this happened quite often that he was able to predict these kinds of things. Quite interesting. And then there's another couple anecdotes. Let's see. Yeah, this is interesting. So again, another example of his Chi Kaligyan. A young girl about 7 years old would daily bring a pot of Ganga water for Babaji Maharaj. During a particularly severe storm, she still brought the water into the kuti. Although Vamsidasa told her not to go back outside, she anyway opened the door to leave. But as she was exiting, Babaji Maharaj jumped and pulled her back inside. At that instant, a thunderbolt hit the very spot where she was about to step. Pretty interesting. And then this was interesting. Once a man suffering from cholera came and laid outside Babaji Maharaj's kuti, moaning that he would rather die than have to endure the severe pain in his belly. He expected that being a sadhu, Vamsidasa would heal him. After the man had been there for 3 or 4 days without taking any food or drink, Babaji Maharaj put a tulsi leaf on his tongue, which immediately cured him. The man then rose and went home. Pretty amazing things. I mean, just miraculous things that can't be understood. Let's see. So then, like I said, so he spent some time in Navadvip, and then he decided to go on pilgrimage, go travel around a little bit, and first place he went was Vrindavan. And he just began walking. He wanted to go see, he wanted to go different places that Lord Chaitanya had gone and go on pilgrimage in that way. So yes, he went to Vrindavan, and then it's described in here the ways that he was traveling, the austerity which he underwent in his travel is just extreme. Let's see here if I can find. Right, this is quite interesting. Okay. So yeah, sometimes the villagers would recognize that he's a great sadhu and try to cook him a feast and all these stuff, and he just would ignore it and just kind of keep walking, and he wouldn't really care for their arrangements or anything like that. And it says here, so devotees would accompany him as he was traveling around to serve him and stuff. But because of the way he was so unpredictable, it was very difficult for them to travel with him. So it said here, sometimes the devotees accompanying him would stop in a village to cook for themselves, but Babaji Maharaj did not care whether they were with him or not, and often proceeded without them. Sometimes he walked, sometimes he stopped, sometimes he cooked for his deities. There was no telling when he would halt or resume. It could be at any time of the day or night, and without informing anyone. His unpredictability made it difficult for the attending devotees to keep pace with him. It's also said that he would just go days and days without eating, without drinking water, anything like that. And then where he would stay, I mean, sometimes I can't find this exact section, but there's a section that describes, okay, he stayed a few days here, he stayed 5 days here, he stayed 9 days here, and it's saying that he would just go, stay on a sand bank in a river for 9 days, and then he just moved on and stayed just under some trees, and he just would stay just random places just along the route. Very austere situation. Let's see here. He liked to stay under Vangshivata, which is banyan trees. So wherever he would go, he would ask his associates, his servants and stuff to find a banyan tree that we can stay under tonight. So that's pretty interesting. And then we see some a little bit of difficulty, or not difficulty, but just things that happened to him that are just unfortunate. You could say that some people attacked him or harassed him and things like that. So he was going to Jagannath Puri, and he was near the Gundicha Mandir, near Jagannath Puri. So then some pseudo Shaivas harassed him, and so basically they were fake sadhus, and they were going around begging from people and trying to take some money from them, that kind of thing. And they thought that he was doing the same thing, so they thought, oh, he's come to our territory and he's doing what we're trying to do, so let's get him out of here. So saying that they abused and threatened him, but since they were unable to intimidate him, they eventually set fire to his tent. But fortunately, just at that time, some devotees from Sri Purushottam Math came for darshan of Babaji Maharaj and took police assistance to drive away the false sadhus. And then they went, one of the devotees, Jati Shekhar Prabhu, went to procure funds and arrange for a new tent. So we see, even, it's always existent in all these pure devotees' lifetimes that some, ruffians or some antagonistic force, some antagonistic people will always try to harass devotees, almost undoubtedly. It's almost, universal that every, great devotee has people attacking them, and, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had people trying to kill him. We see this happening, so many different things. Srila Prabhupada faced so much opposition to what he was doing, and it just serves to further glorify them as well. Let's see, there was a couple more things I wanted to say. I guess it's almost 7:30. Should I just keep going through this, or open for comments or questions? Yeah, let's open it up. Sorry, I kind of went over time.
you're just mentioning about Vamsidasa Babaji's, I guess, anyways, it's okay, whatever. His position in not wearing outer dress. And although we wear outer dress, not just Kopin like Maharaj here, but we still follow the same principles.
Sure.
We don't consider wearing this, as an outer dress. We consider this to be the dress of Lord Chaitanya, that dress Lord Chaitanya liked.
Mm-hmm.
And anything else we consider to be, just as a part of our duty when we have to perform that service to Lord Chaitanya. Or maybe have some household duty. But outside of that, we shun that dress which is not favorable to devotional service.
We don't wear it for sense gratification. Just
it's not according to our liking,
nice,
like the karmis. I like this and I like that. And I want this particular thing, or I want that particular. We just wear a very simple dress, and that's not considered outer dress particularly.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually our dress to please Lord Chaitanya, to please the deities, to please our spiritual master. So that principle is still followed. Now, Babaji's, they obviously take that to a whole new level with renunciation.
Mm-hmm.
But the principle, again, is still the same. You'll see that we can, when we read these books, we can extract all the principles, not try to imitate them, but extract the principles and apply them to our lives and maintain that. Sometimes we may have that, Guru Maharaj, there is a class he mentions, renunciators should be renunciates, grihastas should be grihastas, devotees should be who they are. So it's not that he was mentioning specifically, in this regard, Vamsidasa Babaji left all his children and wife. But he was saying that there is an extent to which grihastas have to get into family life, have to have affection for the wife and children, and they can't just be like, I'm renounced, now I'm going to become a sannyasi. No, you took that, you took that position, so you have to play that role. But at the same time, take a principle and keep it in our heart and go through our lives. And the renunciate especially should embody that also. So it's just, I was just thinking that when we read these books, although he's very far out personality, very Paramahamsa, Avadutan, but we can still take a lot of the principles. There's nothing different, it's complete in everything that he's doing. So.
Yeah. Anything else? No? Mataris? No? Okay. Srila Vamsidasa Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Raghunanda Thakur ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasinubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.